Good afternoon everyone, and welcome on your live safari here at Djuma Private Game Reserve. My name is Brent, I'm going to be your guide. We've got Brian on camera and Nikki and Tara in final control. It is a wonderful balmy 26 degrees Celsius, which is 79 degrees Fahrenheit. We are just to the north of our camp and lodge. Just as we left, we heard monkeys in the drainage line. So we came to check. Unfortunately, it seems like those alarm calls are coming from directly in front of Djuma Lodge, and there are people in there at the moment, so we don't want to surprise anyone by accident, so we've moved away. But that's a really good sign for later in the afternoon, once all the game drives are out, that there's probably a leopard in that area. So for those of you who might be new, we are live. You're seeing everything that we see live. It's an unbelievable chance we have to share our passion for the African wilderness with you. And just a quick update for those of you who weren't with us on the sunrise safari. We were lucky enough to find a nice big pride of lions, and they are sleeping not too far from here, and we're definitely going to make our way down there and have a look. It is quite hot, so we'll probably just stop in there for 5 or 6 minutes just to make sure they're in the same place where I left them this morning. And then we'll definitely come back to them later on in the evening when it's cooler. Also, we had that really interesting sighting of the quarantine male leopard as he was finishing off that impala kill. And the hyena walked off with the skull. And there was actually 2 leopards in that sighting. We could only see the one, but it was Quarantine and his littermate and brother, Nkuhuma. And I think it's one of those 2 leopards that has moved from that position, which is to the north of us, sort of south into this drainage line. So we'll definitely be having a look out for them. And just to let everyone know, Jigger is very healthy and on her way back from Land Rover Hospital, and hopefully we'll be arriving sometime this afternoon. So we'll be back to 2 vehicles, so that's very exciting. And also really exciting for all of us here is Hayden and Peter will be back and taking drives from tomorrow morning, which is really good news, and we're very excited to have them back here on Djuma and Arathusa. So that's going to be lots and lots of fun over the next few days. So welcome, and let's go find some animals. Also, sorry, I just forgot to mention there, because we're live, we are able to take your questions, which gives you a chance to ask us whatever you're thinking about while we look at the different animals here in the bush. And you can do that by using the email address questions@WildEarthTV, or if you're on Twitter, you can just use the hashtag SafariLive. So because it's been quite warm during the day, I don't think those lines have moved too far, but it is possible they might have moved further into the drainage line where there's some cool sand. So that'll be just nice to know where they are for when we want to come back later when it's cooler and they start moving. Fingers crossed that they might move towards the Djuma waterhole camp. I've got a sneaky suspicion they will. They're lying up quite close to it. There are some buffalo there. Also, those monkeys alarm calling will let them know that there is another predator in the area, and they might go inspect to see what predator that is. For those of you who were with us, I think it was last week, we saw that happen when we were watching the Tsalala Breakaway Pride, and the impala started alarming, and they went to check it out, and we found Kwatile, female leopard, and the lions actually moved through there to go see what the other predator close to them was. So hopefully they will move towards the dam There are some buffalo bulls there. They have eaten, but some of them could eat, so it could be interesting to see whether they decide to hunt something as big as a buffalo bull. So I think the last reports I heard from when they were on Sibambili is that they ate a kudu. And as you can see, my friends, the flies are back in full force. So we were commented this morning that oh, it doesn't seem like the flies are out, and that's just because it was quite cold this morning. So the flies seem to wait till it gets a bit warmer before they venture out to plague us. Numbers of buffalo bulls we have around here, that just increases the flies. So we go, here the buffalo I was speaking about. And so the buffalo all lying up here. Beyond the buffalo, towards the lodge, that's where those monkeys were alarm calling about half an hour ago. So we're pretty sure that there's a leopard in that area. So definitely very good for later on this evening. And there's also a very shy hippo. We had a brief visual of him this morning. I'm trying to see now. All we saw was nostrils. There we go, nostrils just popped out. It's quite a shy hippo. Doesn't seem to be as used to the vehicles as some of the other hippos. So when we are close by, he just seems to pop the nostrils out. So the lions are lying up probably 250 meters from here, behind the dam wall. Yeah, oxpeck is tittering much better, but they're just having an argument in the back of the buffalo, they haven't spotted a predator. I just heard those birds alarm calling as a juvenile African harrier hawk. It seems to be we've been having great sightings of African harrier hawks in the last while. It looked like it might have been trying to raid a nest. I didn't quite see. Is he going to come out onto the clear there, Brian?
No,
he's going behind the Tambozis. Scott had a fantastic sighting of an African harrier hawk attempting to rob a nest of, we're not sure, in one of these dead trees. But and actually I had a very brief visual of a juvenile African harrier hawk this morning with Andrew in this area. I wonder if it's the same one. Okay, so we're getting quite close to the area where we last left those lions, and they have not moved an inch. Didn't expect them to have moved too much. I just saw one of those white bellies. So here we go. They moved with the shade, but there we go. There's a pile of lions. How many have we got here? So others might have moved off to the drainage line. Let's just do a count once we get into position. I think all are present and accounted for. Let's just do a quick count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is the Nkuhuma pride. And we were really lucky. We had a fantastic sighting of them in the early morning light. We started our sunrise safari with these lions. And hopefully we'll be able to end our sunset safari with them. So we're just going to spend a few minutes here. I don't think they're going to be too active, but very good. It's always very good to just check where they are and to make sure they're in the same position where you left them in the morning, because it is a possibility they could have moved further down to the drainage line to where it's possibly a bit cooler. And we definitely know where to come looking for them when it gets a bit cooler in about an hour and a half or so, when they're probably going to start moving. So out of all of them, the young male seems to have got the lion's share of whatever they killed. So we came and found the Nkuhuma pride. For those of you who might have logged in a little bit late, just joining us, they are lying almost the exact position where we left them this morning. And the reason we come and check at the beginning of drive when it's hot and we know the lions aren't going to be too active is to make sure we know where they are for this evening, when they are likely to get moving. And as I said, they have killed something. I heard from the rangers to the west of us. They killed a kudu yesterday, but it looks like the young male had the lion's share of whatever was available, and ate more than the females. Even though he's about 3 years old, between 2.5 and 3 years old, he is already physically stronger and bigger than the lionesses. So he is able to dominate around a carcass unless the adult males are there. But you can see the flies seem to be irritating him quite a lot. So I wonder where he's off to now. There's not much shade that way. Good evening, Jimmerlin, and welcome on our sunset safari. Jimmerlin would like to know, would lions ever try to take down an elephant? Most definitely, Jimmerlin. They are opportunists like most predators, and if an opportunity arose where they thought they would be able to take down an elephant, they would. But as I've explained before, a lot of animal behavior is area specific as opposed to species specific. So lions in the Sabi Sands are not well known for hunting. There have been some records of it. Where there is lions in certain parts of northern Botswana, southern Zambia, are well-known elephant hunters. And a lot of that is also to do with the climate at the time. So the most famous lion hunters, and I've been fortunate enough to actually see two different occasions where lions have hunted successfully teenage elephant bulls. both in Botswana. And what happened, there was a place called the Savuti Channel, and that dried up, and there was very limited water points. And what happened is that during the summer months, there's a huge area called the Savuti Marsh, and you had a lot of grazing species such as zebra and sesame, wildebeest, that were on those areas. And while the sort of times were flush and there was lots of prey and lots of big herds of buffalo around, the lions didn't really attempt to hunt elephants. But then that area dried naturally for about, I think it was just over 30 years, 35 years. And because of that, the lion prides then started developing the skills it took to hunt elephants. And normally these elephants that they hunted were sort of 12 to 15-year-old elephant bulls. And as you've noticed, those who've been coming on safari with us quite a lot, at that age, the elephant bull's testosterone gets the better of them, and they start becoming a bit of a nuisance around the breeding herds. So they're actually pushed to the peripheries of the herds by the females in the breeding herds of elephants, and sometimes even pushed completely out, and they either wander in small bachelor groups or quite often by themselves. And so one pride in particular in Savuti became very, very good at this, and that pride 30 strong, and they would target these young males. It is quite a horrific thing to watch, because the first lion and elephant kill I saw took about 9.5 hours for the elephant to die. So it is quite brutal, but it's a very special skill. And quite interestingly, when the Savuti Channel started flowing again about 5 or 6 years ago, the lion prides broke up into sub-prides, very much here. So at the one stage, I think there was 40 or 50 lions in the main Savuti pride. But as soon as the water started flowing and your wildebeest and zebra and sesame and other and the big herds of buffalo came back, those lion prides broke up into smaller groups again and almost completely stopped hunting elephant. I don't think there has been a recorded case of that in that particular area since the water came back. So it's quite a, sorry, I've gone a bit in depth on that, but there is quite a lot of variables that would cause lions to hunt elephants or not to hunt elephants. But that was a very, very nice question. Thank you, Gemlin. Good afternoon, Lisa on Twitter. Lisa would like to know, would they kick the sub-adult male out of the pride if he started trying to mate with them? Lisa, I don't think the lionesses would. Not to say they couldn't, but I think they would tolerate him. It would be up to the dominant males in the area. And I don't think he's got too much more time that they will tolerate him in the pride. I think he's probably got 6 months at the longest before he's definitely pushed out. But that again can also change depending on what's happening with the other lion dynamics in the area. So if those two dominant males got sort of taken out by a new coalition, then this pride would definitely try hang on the peripheries and avoid the new coalition coming in. And that means he might be able to stay with the pride a little longer, but unfortunately for him, the same is inevitable. And if he doesn't move out, he would be killed by a new coalition in the area. Go ahead. Copy, Steph. Yeah, the last monkey alarm calls I had were sort of halfway between the first guest room and that shortcut road that crosses the drainage line that goes to the Galago, the pan in front of Galago camp. Welcome to the Sunset Safari. Jennifer from Toronto. Jennifer would like to know when the males, the dominant males, would start chasing this young male out. Would it pose a threat to the rest of the pride? Jennifer, not really, no. The only real threat would be to the young male himself. But to the rest of the pride, if it's the same coalition members who have been in charge, which in this area at the moment is the Matimbas, it wouldn't. Flatulent lions, that's very, very smelly, and we are very unfortunately downwind. But no, it wouldn't pose a threat to the rest of the pride, just the young male. The one thing you guys can be very lucky is that you weren't sitting downwind at that particular moment. Stiff about 350 meters to the southeast of the dam wall, very close to where they were lying up the last time you had them, just on the edge, on the western edge of the drainage. Chatting to Steph and Scott there. They're going to also go try find those monkey alarm calls we heard earlier on in the drive. So hopefully they've got a bit of better luck than we did, being able to go off and track on foot. So they're going to go check in that area. Steph was just asking me now where exactly the lions were, so he didn't accidentally bump into them while he was tracking the leopard. Good evening, Sibusiso from Hammonds Kraal. Sibusiso would like to know, do lions synchronize their birth? Not generally, Sibusiso, but quite interestingly, if there are cubs of a suckling age at a time, they will actually let cubs that are not theirs suckle, so their sister or their nephews and nieces. And lions are quite unusual in the fact that they do allow communal suckling. Whereas if we take a look at hyenas, the cubs only suckle from the mother, and they will not be tolerated to suckle from another female. But lions will let other cubs suckle. They have no set breeding time, Sibusiso, so it's not like they all come into estrus at the same time. If they did, it would be quite difficult for a pride to maintain, because lion prides, especially during the end of sort of coalition reigns, is a very difficult time. So any cubs sort of under 2 years will be killed by the new males coming in. And if they all had cubs at the same time, it would be quite difficult to have the pride growing. But it isn't uncommon to have 3 or 4 different ages in a big pride of lion cubs. So it's going to be very interesting to see what these lions do this evening, whether they do head towards the dam where the buffalo are, and whether the monkeys were alarm calling. But I don't think there's going to be too much movement for the next while. As you can see, they look very, very comfortable. But it'll be definitely a really good idea to catch up with them a little bit later, when they're more likely to be moving. So I think we're just going to spend the next couple of seconds with the lions, and then we're going to move on, and hopefully we can go find something else. So you can see they roll over quite often. What happens is the patch of soil that they've been lying on gets too hot, so they try to roll for a cool patch of soil, and then when it does get a little bit too hot, then they might just move off for a meter or two. And it's always nice to see how lions lie on top of each other, just to reaffirm those social bonds between the pride. We will definitely cross over to Steph and Scott. They're following up on those monkey alarm calls, so fingers crossed that they find us something incredible. Yeah, it is incredible. So I don't know if anyone noticed, our opening shot this afternoon was on this sort of cloud that was building, and that's a huge anvil that's building there. And what that is the beginning, or actually it's quite in develop of a cumulus storm, and as it develops we'll keep an eye on it. It should, if it gets a bit higher, we'll be able to see a very distinct anvil, that the sort of shape it makes, and the winds inside those clouds can get up to 1,000 kilometers an hour. Even jumbo jets will fly around them, because the strength and power inside those storms is enough to rip the wings off a jumbo jet, which is quite a scary thought. So because it's still quite and warm, I know some guys found some elephants this morning. We weren't able to find them again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check towards the south, towards Twin Dams. Maybe, fingers crossed, we might get some luck with some elephants around the water. So we've just left Nkuhuma Pride of Lions, being fat, lazy, flatulent cats. So we're definitely going to try and make our way back there a little bit later, when it's cooler and they're moving. I've sort of got my fingers crossed they're going to move towards the dam where there are some buffalo. And then Steph and Scott are hopefully going to find us a leopard. They're following up on some monkey alarm calls we heard earlier. We're now heading down towards Twin Dams, trying to hopefully find some elephants. There were some elephants seen slightly to the north of us. We weren't able to find them this morning, but hopefully they've come down towards the water in the late afternoon heat. And also, if anyone's a new viewer, welcome. And just to let you know, you're on a live African safari in the low veldt of South Africa. We're on Djuma Private Game Reserve at the moment, and my name is Brent, and I'm your guide. And everything I'm seeing, you're seeing at the same time as me, sorry, tongue twister. Also, we are also interactive, so you can ask me questions about what we're seeing in the bush. You can do that by using email. The email address is questions@wildearth.tv, or you can use the hashtag Safari Live if you're on Twitter. Good afternoon. Just left Nkuhuma's lying up in the same place. There's Nkao colouring in front of Vuyatela. Scott and Steph are following up in that area. Myself, I'm looking for any sign of Hlambe and Dlove at the moment. Copy, good luck. Steph coming. Steph or Scott coming. No, as if I was looking for Stefan. Good afternoon, Jilly from Wisconsin. Welcome on Sunset Safari with us. Jilly would like to know whether I've ever seen a Corey busted in the Sabi Sands, and have I heard some of the fascinating noise they make. Jilly, I have, not in the northern parts. I've seen them in the southern parts of the Sabi Sands, where it's sort of more open grasslands. Not to say that they can't occasionally be seen up in the northern parts, but I haven't seen them here, and I've been fortunate to hear some of the noises they make. Sorry guys, I've got quite a lot of chatter in my ear from the game drives all getting mobile, so I'm just listening to all the updates. Text coming. Very good. Text, did you have any luck with that Champion Love this morning? Copy. I checked, but I checked Batalia and Yala. Also no luck. I'm going to check down towards Twin Dams now, but if you see any signs of a Champion Love on Vertella, please let me know. So guys, just a quick thing. Hayden and Peter have just walked into FC, and they're really excited to get out and drive tomorrow, and very excited to hear from all of you tomorrow. So hopefully you'll all be up early or stay up late wherever you are in the world to watch Peter and Hayden in the morning. Very exciting to have them back here. The whole crew here is very excited. We can't wait for the next couple of weeks. It's going to be really wonderful. And now in the meantime, before the flies take off with me, a quick update on Jigga. For those of you who missed, Jigga is on her way back from the doctor. She has been given, I suppose, more than a transplant. She's been given a full new engine, and so that's hopefully to make her a lot more reliable going forward. But we're going to keep moving before the flies take off. I think Brian's actually started hovering.
Holding on, I'm holding on.
So also there were some large male leopard tracks, just from the size that we saw this morning. I would have guessed that they were in Vula, and the last place they went was into this thick block here. So also while we're checking for those elephants, we are keeping a close lookout on the roads for any possible tracks of Mvula. It'd be very interesting if it wasn't Mvula. For those of you I know who are long-time watchers and follow the lives of the leopards in this area quite a lot, I got a very interesting report from some of the guys to the west of us recently. There's a new male leopard who started pushing into Tingana's territory, and what they're telling me is Tingana's now pushing further east into Mvula's territory. So it's going to be quite interesting to see what happens in the next coming months with those male leopards. So that new male leopard is coming in from a place called Ottawa, and it's called the Anderson male. I don't know anything about it about him at the moment, but it will be very, very interesting to keep an eye on that story and what happens with the male leopards, whether the sort of Anderson male, who's apparently a similar age to Tingana, so they're both in their prime, doesn't manage to push Tingana out of his territory, or does, but I really look forward to following that. And then will Tingana push on to Mvula? Interesting times ahead. So, no elephants at Twin Dams, just lots of flies on the old buffalo. So I'm just going to scoot past before I get mauled. And I think we're going to try towards Buffalo's Hook Dam next to see if we can find any tracks of those elephants. You always check these main access roads very, very carefully, because the fact that there is quite a bit of traffic on them makes it easy for the trucks to have been driven over. So if those of you new wonder why I've always got my head out of the side of the car, it's because I'm checking for tracks. What a wonderful, wonderful afternoon so far. Temperatures definitely getting cooler earlier, so by the time we get out it's not blistering hot anymore. At the moment it's sort of this almost idyllic temperature, well, for me at least. I'd guess it's probably around 25, 26 degrees. Maybe a little bit less than that. But as all of you guys know, I'm a big softie when it comes to the cold. Fortunately, I didn't have to drive too far this morning because we found the lions within 5 minutes of drive. But otherwise, I was prepared to be laughed at, especially by all of our viewers who live in cold climes. So I think it was about 15 degrees or 14 degrees this morning, Celsius. And I had skiing gloves ready to be put on. So I know you guys probably just shake your head and laugh, saying, what? That's a nice summer's day where we're from. But fortunately for me, I like it where it's very warm. I tend to avoid cold and snow whenever possible. We're going to have a quick look at that storm again now from a bit further to the east. You can see how it's been building. It's still a long way off. I doubt we're going to get any rain from it though. Anyway, last time I said that I got very, very wet, so maybe I should just keep quiet. we're going to have a quick look at this storm that's building to the west of us. I mean, even since our opening shot, it's just got even more massive. And then we checked on it again after we left the lines, and it's grown since then again. There we go, Brian's going to show you. It is still quite a long way away, because if you look carefully, you can actually still see the Drakensberg underneath it. So it is a long way away. But it is building. There you can see the Drakensberg in the distance. So it is quite a long way away. So we're just checking some of our boundaries at the moment. There has been quite a lot of leopard activity in this area, and so we checked the twin dams. There's no sign of elephant or anything, just buffaloes and a lot of flies. So we're going to check along our eastern boundary here, and then head down towards Buffelshoek Dam, because Scott and Steph followed the tracks of a female leopard into that area this morning, and if those tracks are Mvula, there is a strong possibility that he might move into that area. He's very fond of that area. For those of you not sure who Mvula is the dominant male leopard in this area, so always nice to see him. He's a very big boy. So for those of you not sure what the Drakensberg are, they are one of the longest mountain ranges, or if not, it is the longest mountain range in Africa. They extend all the way from the eastern cape of South Africa, along or parallel to the east coast, up through the Lowveld and into Limpopo, and they're sort of the last sort of foothills that are not really part of the Drakensberg, but sort of are the Soutpansberg, which is near the border of Zimbabwe. And literally translated from Afrikaans, it's translated to the Dragon's Mountains. So the first Dutch colonists here had to cross them in ox wagons, and in those days there was a lot of myth and mythology to do with the interior of Africa, because no one knew much about it. So it was there was considered to be that possibly dragons could live in them. Also, the other thing is because they're not where we're looking at them, but especially in KwaZulu-Natal, they're very, very tall and sharp, sort of like one would imagine the back of a dragon to look like. Some wonderful hiking in those mountains, some great game viewing and bird watching as well. Especially in this area, there's some fantastic birding and some endemic and rare species that occur in this area of the Drakensberg. So guys, well, we carry on checking for leopard in this area, trying to find some tracks. We're going to cross over to Steph, see what he's got, or Steph and Scott. So enjoy, and we'll be back with you shortly.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this evening's or the sunset bushwalk from Djuma Private Game Reserve with myself, Stefan, and Scott. Scott's behind the camera today, and as you might have known from Brent, he's called us into this area so that we can give him a hand finding whatever's making the monkeys in this area start shouting. They're alarm calling at something. It's relatively close to the leopard sighting that was seen this morning and last night, that spectacular cat sighting that you had with the two leopard in the trees and the hyena underneath and the wild dog going crazy. This morning, apparently, those two leopards finished the kill. They've now moved off of that area, or moved out of that area, and it seems like they've moved into the area where we're in at the moment. Monkeys are giving alarm calls. We heard a bushbuck a little bit earlier on. There was Franklin going crazy. There's a little bit of a hive of activity here at the moment, and So Scott and I have moved into this area. It's relatively thick bush. It's too thick for the cars to crash around in looking for one of these cats. If indeed it's one of these cats that's making these monkeys alarm call. But it's quite easy for us to walk in. We're unobtrusive, we're very maneuverable, and the absolute fantastic thing about it is that you get to join us on one of these bushwalks. How amazing is that? At the moment, technology is where it is today, where we can have you basically with us. We can stick our noses into all these little nooks and crannies and up all these little secluded spots where we normally find the animals, but you can't come with unless you're in the vehicle. Now, you'll notice that I do carry a rifle. When we're away from the vehicle and when we're away from lodges, when we're far away from these, it's policy that we carry the rifle. It's essentially just a piece of safety equipment, very similar to an airbag in a car or a seat belt. And the hope is that you never have to use it. I mean, let's hope so. But you'll be glad to have it, and you've got it. Now, do that further. What we're going to be heading into, need to check some wind direction first, so I'm going to stand up and show you my Scott sock, which is essentially just one of Scott's socks that I filled with some ash out of the fire. It's a very handy piece of equipment actually. It's generally just there to give us an idea of wind, and as you saw from that slow movement of wind, we've got wind into our faces and it's very slow. So unfortunately the wind is not going to be masking our approach, covering the sound of us crashing through the bushes, but we're going to be walking quite slowly. We're going to be dropping the level of our voice and whispering, and we're going to be listening to the bush around us. So it's really telling us a story at the moment. It's just for us to sort of open up our ears and listen. Now, without going on too much, we're going to show you what it's all about and head off. So while we're walking through the bush and listening to it really for these monkeys that we're calling, we can't hear them calling at the moment. We don't know what's here. It might have moved off, but we also got to keep our eye open for other things that are around. Now, I'll be moving back a little bit, but there's some elephant dung here on the floor, just to let you know that we are in the wilds of Africa and not walking around in a tame place. Some elephant damage, some elephant dung. All these animals, including ourselves, really coexist out here. This is our neighborhood as much as what it is theirs, and being on foot allows us to coexist. It allows us to become essentially part of the food chain or part of the ecosystem out here. And it's such a wonderful feeling to be out in the bush. Get that real attachment again. So this stop has allowed me to listen into the bush in front of us. We're going to be stopping quite frequently and listening. Hearing some birds making a bit of an alarm call in front of us. Nothing too serious at the moment, but we're going to be sticking our noses in there in a moment. Before we go though, you will notice that I have a white armband on my arm. It's not there to make my bicep look big. It's actually just a visual cue that I'm a registered trails guide in this area. It's just for an anti-poaching team, any surveillance that they might be doing in the area. This is a visual cue to any of those teams that I'm a registered trails guide and supposed to be here rather than not. Let's go see what those birds are giving an alarm call for. for those of you who'd like to ask me any questions, you are welcome to. You can use the same avenue that you do for the drives. You can send an email to questions@wildearth.tv, or you can send a message on Twitter using the hashtag #SafariLive. We'll get it relayed to us, and then we'll answer your questions. As many as we can answer while we're trying to blend in. What you'll notice over my shoulder there is just a visual demonstration as to the power of elephants in this area. They've flattened that tree over there and it's died, and basically at eye level with us, it just gives you this feeling about sort of how small you may be in the greater scheme of things. So we've been coming through the bush quite quietly, making our way stealthily towards where we heard the monkeys giving the alarm call a little bit earlier on. Now, we think that there's one of the leopard from this morning's sighting that you had and last night's sighting moving into this area, moving through this area. And we want to move our way into this and see if we can pick him up. As you can see, the bush is very thick around us, making it perfect for a team on foot such as ourselves to come into this area, be unobtrusive, and see what we can find. So we're going to be heading off of this termite mound, around the corner. I have no idea what we're going to be finding down there. I do know that there's a patch of sand though, and I'm hoping that we'll find some or other type of track on the sand. So, hello Lisa, you've just asked us a question on Twitter. Do we game trail at the moment? The answer to that is yes. Game trails are quite often one of the quietest ways of getting into the bush and moving through the bush. There are very few broken leaves and broken twigs on game trails, and the sand is soft. So not only is it quiet to walk on, but it's also quite a good place to look for tracks. Animals like leopard enjoy walking on bush trails and bush paths through the bush, and I, as often as I can, try and make my way into the bush on a path, and the hope is there that you can see a little bit about what's been walking around it, but also it's to get into an area and be a bit quieter. Now you'll notice that I'm speaking, the voice is a bit more moderate. It's because we're getting very close to where we last heard these monkeys making an alarm call. And a loud voice and us speaking in a loud tone will definitely alert whatever's here that we hear. And I'm wanting to stay unobtrusive at the moment, secretive. All right, we're going to carry on with this elephant path, and we're going to go down to the river. We're going to see if we can see any tracks, hear any more sign. Wind is very, very still at the moment. So I don't see anything on these tracks at the moment. It's quite empty of tracks. So we're going to carry on looking through this thick bush ahead. What I'm going to try and do is find those monkeys and see if they're looking in any direction in particular. While we're looking in the bush over here, we're going to be going back to Brent. Enjoy your safari with him, and we'll cut back to you as soon as we've got something interesting to show you. So enjoy it.
Welcome back, guys. I hope you had some fun with Steph and Scott. As you can see, we've made our way to Buffelshoek Dam. Unfortunately, no eddies, but we do have some Egyptian geese. I just noticed there's a buffalo right in the corner, and there is a hippo, but he is not as shy as the last one, and a grey heron sitting up on the bank. But it's always a good place to sit and listen quietly for a little bit, because there were leopard tracks heading in this area this morning that Scott and Steph were following. They lost it somewhere around, the track somewhere around here. So listen carefully, see if we pick up any alarm calls. Oh, sorry, I just have to take a call on the radio quickly. Andrew coming. Andrew or Aubrey coming. There you can see the heron, the geese, and the buffalo. And the hippo is being elusive at the moment. Andrew coming. Good, thanks, Andrew. Sorry, I just couldn't get a word in earlier. But those Ngala are still lying up in the same place, and there were also Nkau colouring in front of Vuyatela. I know Scott and Steph are following up in that area. Copy, now I left them open lock. Here we go. There's a hippopotocrocoduck. So probably a young male hippo by himself. Being pushed out of the bigger dams that are full of females by the adult males. You can see he's still not that big yet for a hippo. And hopefully for him, once he's a bit bigger, he can go and compete with the bigger bulls in an area where there's some ladies. So as I was saying earlier, a very good spot to just listen for a little bit and chat and have a look at the hippo and the herons and the Egyptian geese. I'm listening for all types of alarm calls, not only for squirrels and inyala and impala, kudu, the normal ones. I've had quite a lot of luck over the years finding leopard by listening to the smaller things like rattling cisticulars and blue waxbills, tiny little birds, because they will still also alarm at a leopard, even though it's very unlikely that they would ever be caught by a leopard. They still don't like the fact that there's a predator in their vicinity. But unfortunately at the moment, all is still on the eastern front. Good afternoon, welcome on the Sunset Safari. Dylan from Iowa. Dylan would like to know if that's a pair of Egyptian geese. It is, Dylan. I haven't seen any Egyptian geese nests close by, but they will nest in a tree relatively close to the water's edge, but they don't have any babies at the moment. And as I said this morning, I had a friend, when she was younger, she could never remember Egyptian when she was very small, but she could remember the pyramids, so she used to call them pyramid ducks. I'm going to go check the eastern side of the dam. We're on the western side at the moment. I've got a hunch, a bit of a gut feeling. I want to check an area on the other side. Hello, Joanne, and just to warn you, as I go behind the dam wall, we might lose signal for a brief second, so I will rush through it. But if you can still hear me, Joanne, very good ears you have. That is correct. Those were brown-headed parrots, the most common parrot species in this area of the Sabi Sands. There's a big hole. Just to let everyone know, the crocodile doesn't seem to be here. I can't see any tracks of his belly lying up, so I think the crocodile's definitely moved on. For those who watch regularly and were wondering, So we're gonna check now back south. I'm gonna zigzag through this area because those tracks of that female leopard are more than likely of Karula, and we're heading in this area, and I haven't seen her in a while, and I'm really excited to see her again and get a good view of her, because there's quite a lot of speculation on whether she's pregnant or not at the moment. So I'm not going to make any assumptions till I've had a good and proper look for myself. Good evening, Tanya. Welcome on Sunset Drive. Tanya's from the UK, and she's wondering, how do hippos see underwater, and do they have a second eyelid? Tanya, that's a very good question. I'm actually not sure. So maybe you guys can help me. I'm not sure whether hippos have a second eyelid. Maybe you guys can help me with that. If any of you know, you can send your answers to questions at WildEarthTV, or you just use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. To the second part of that question is how do they see underwater? Tanya, in a dam like Buffelshoek, I don't think they would like to open their eyes under the water, and even if they could, I don't think they're going to see very much. It's very muddy and dirty, full of elephant, buffalo and hippo feces, so I'm not sure whether they would open their eyes in a system like that, but who knows, what about like places like Okavango where the water is crystal clear? It's a very interesting question, Tanya. Thank you very much. And as I said, if anyone does know whether hippos have that second eyelid, like crocodiles and sharks, please could you let me know, and you can send those answers to questions at WildEarth.tv, or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. So guys, I'm just going to have to listen to the radio. There's quite a lot of chatter at the moment. Just keeping up to date with what's happening with the other game drive vehicles. Oh, isn't that a wonderful little surprise? Strangely enough, I think I've probably seen, since I've been with Wild Earth, more leopards. Oh, what is he up to? I think I know. And he definitely, yes. So that giraffe just bent down to the ground and picked something off the ground. I know what it is, but I'm not sure if you do.
I think I know as well.
Oh, Brian thinks he knows. And when we look at that giraffe, we're going to try and get a nice view of her head. It's very distinctive behavior when they do this specific thing. We got to clear it. There we go. Shot there. Now you notice that she look quite strange the way she's chewing. And it's definitely not a leaf she's chewing. I mean, she's picked that up off the ground. So let me throw it out there. Who thinks they know what this giraffe is doing, and what is it called, and what is it eating? What is that giraffe chewing on? You can send your answers to questions at wildearth.tv, or use the hashtag Safari Live if you're on Twitter. They always look quite silly when they do this. So giraffe are quite well known for doing this. A lot of other animals do it as well, but it's not as obvious and doesn't look quite as ridiculous. Porcupine are one that are very well known for doing this. So it is very strange. We've got two female giraffe here, but we're just going to stay with the one who's pulling the funny faces for now. Can you actually, you guys might even be able to hear.
Yeah, you can hear it.
You can hear it. We're just going to keep quiet for 30 seconds, see if you guys might be able to pick it up off the mic. Well done, MJ and Boulere, who were the first to get it in. That giraffe is chewing a bone to get calcium. I asked, there was a third part of my question, which was, what is that called when animals chew bones? But I said, what was it called? I probably didn't specify correctly. So who can tell me what is it called when the animals chew bones? You can send your answers to questions at WildEarthTV. Or just use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. They all do look so silly when they do this. So I'm going to just stand by here for a second. I will try to get into a better spot where we can see them from the front. But I didn't want to disturb, don't want to disturb them. Really making a meal out of that bone. Well done, Brandy and Donna on Twitter. It is called ostophagia. And so quite a few animals do it. I've seen impala and yala, wildebeest, but giraffe seem to do it a bit more than some of the other animals. And probably one of the biggest culprits are porcupine. You'll often find bones that have been chewed with those very, very distinct marks that you can see from a porcupine's very sharp incisors. Oh, not incisors, sorry, canines. Big, very square teeth. So I'm trying to think, I think this is a piece of a buffalo that the giraffe is chewing. And you can see a bit of a scapula on the ground. I'm just going to try and move around a bit so we can get a better view of them. I think there's a nice open patch. There are two giraffe there. The one is completely hidden to the left behind that. There you can just see the legs. So I'm just going to move around to try and get a better view. just going to get onto the other side of those giraffes so we can get a better view. Sorry. Still with these giraffe, and that giraffe is chewing a bone. I think it's a piece of a buffalo. I thought I saw some buffalo scapula down in the grass where we were earlier. When animals do that, it's called osteophagia, and it's to, if they feel they probably have a lack of calcium in their diet. So I've seen impala do it, and wildebeest, and nyala, quite a few different animals, but giraffe and porcupine probably seem to do it the most often. And I'd imagine being a giraffe, being that size, long bones, probably need quite a bit of calcium. But they always do look quite silly when they do it. Sort of reminds me of a little kid with one of those huge sweets. What are they called? Gobstoppers. Gobstoppers. Just too big for their mouth. Sort of nom, 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 nom. Hello Debbie, welcome on Sunset Safari. Debbie would like to know if they're chewing an old bone or a new bone. Do they have a preference? Debbie, I've never really seen them chew fresh bones. I think that would be a bit too hard. So this is a very old bone. I'd guess from the bones I saw in the grass there, it's probably been a couple of years out here. And I think the sun and stuff helps break it down, so it makes it soft enough for an animal like a giraffe to chew. So definitely I would say old bones. I've never really seen them chew a new bone. So unfortunately we can't see the bones from where we are. I can just see a few of them in the grass. We'll try get a view of the bones a little bit later. And then I can actually show you that from the sun and weathering from the edge, that they are sort of crumbly. But still, nevertheless, a bone. I'm just going to sneak forward a little bit. Well, hello, Ria, Julia, and Joyce are all asking whether they'll swallow it or spit it out. It depends. If it's a small enough piece they manage to completely break down, they will definitely spit it. Swallow it. But if it is a bigger piece and it gets too hard for them in the center, they will generally then just spit it out. So you can see the one on the right is now feeding on a young knobthorn. So giraffe are actually really, really good at spotting predators like lion and leopard with their height. And if you see a giraffe staring intently into the grass, it's always a good idea to check it out. What these giraffes are staring at the moment is actually another game drive vehicle that came in behind us. So normally when we would see this type of behavior, I would start saying, "Ooh, maybe there's a leopard there." And sometimes, quite funny, they'll spot things that you don't see very often, like serval and caracal. But unfortunately, at this moment, it's just another game drive vehicle. But knowing the different animals' behavior, that's what helps us find a lot of animals. So you could be sitting with giraffe and the leopard could be in the thick grass to the side, and just that, see both their eyes intently locked on a specific point. It's always worth going to check. Giraffe are very good at spotting predators. These are two females, and it looks like they're off. I'm just going to wait for them to move a little bit further away, and I spotted some bones in the grass, and I'm going to pick one up to show you what I was talking about, how the sun can weather and age them. Might even be lucky enough to find that there's a sign of a porcupine feeding on one or two. So, unfortunately, these are not ideal. This is not something the giraffe, and you put them there where it's easier for you, bro, that a giraffe would feed on. But as I think, just looking at the size of that vertebrae, I'm still quite sure it's probably a buffalo. But as you can see, they've been quite old. You can actually see, if I rub, even just with my bare hands, you can see the little pieces of calcium that are of the bone that are coming off in my hand. So that's from just sun and age and weathering. And now imagine if I put a little bit more sort of effort into it, not too much. So they become very brittle after they've been out in the sun and in the weather for a long time. So if I just do this with my knife, and not very hard, and you can imagine, you can see how easily the calcium comes off. Some of these, or actually this one a giraffe might pick up and chew. Some of these other pieces possibly not, because of the sharp edges. And those sharp edges, it's very difficult to tell now because it's quite old, that these could very easily be from when they were being fed on by hyenas. But here is actually very interesting. If you zoom very tight, there's another sign of another animal that's been doing that, and that's rodents. Small rodents have been chewing to get calcium from these bones. So very interesting. Nothing in nature ever goes to waste. So we're going to head off, see what else we can find. We'll leave the bones where they were, so we don't take anything away from the poor animals. Oh, mold. So the flies not only like buffalo, but they seem to like giraffe as well. Good afternoon, Debbie, and welcome on Sunset Safari. Debbie's from Ohio, and she would like to know, what species of giraffe was that? Was that reticulated? No, it wasn't, Debbie. That's southern giraffe. Reticulated live in East Africa. So we only get southern giraffe in this part of the world. Southern giraffe, from the Zambezi south, there's only southern giraffe. But even between reticulated and southern and thornycrofts, they're all very loose subspecies. I think serious science would actually prove that there's not much difference between them. They're just sort of different color variations, a lot of them. I think there's proof that I think Rothschild's giraffe, which is very endangered, is possibly the only one that has a distinct genetic separate from the others. But I think there are 16 different subspecies of giraffe described, but all of them, as far as I know, are able to breed with each other and provide false alarm, and in breeding they will have young that are able to breed again, so which means that there isn't that much difference between them apart from color or pattern. So, checking very carefully on these sandy roads for tracks. We haven't found any fresh tracks. Those of you who've watched quite a bit, you know if I find a track, I generally got a good chance of finding the leopard. A lot of tracking is there is a certain amount of skill and educated guessing, but you can't beat blind luck as well. Unfortunately, I seem to have quite a lot of blind luck and a little bit of skill.
What do you mean? Mostly skill, no luck.
No, I'm being modest today. That's why we're checking through here for tracks of that female leopard. We're going to cross across to Steph and Scott and see what they've been up to. So enjoy, and we'll catch up with you a little later.
Welcome back to the Sunset Bushwalk with myself, Stefan, and Scott on this brilliant afternoon in Djuma Private Game Reserve. Now, for those of you who have just joined the show, what we've been doing is we were called by Brent into this area to come and follow up in a very thick bushy area on some monkey that we're giving an alarm call, some vervet monkey. We think this is where one of the leopard from the pair that were shown last night on that Impala ram kill had moved into. We think it's one of them. We think he's moved into this area, and we've been combing through here for the last hour or so, searching every little game path that we can, this dry riverbed that I'm standing on at the moment for some sign, any more sign. Now, we found some monkeys. They were busy calling when we got to them, but we don't think that they were urgently calling at a leopard. It wasn't that frantic calling that they were giving. We also haven't found not even one footprint, not even an old footprint of a leopard. So I think that the monkeys that were calling a little bit earlier were looking at an animal, either it was an eagle or they were looking at an animal much further away from where we're standing at the moment. It's not a problem. This happens all the time. And what we're going to carry on doing is we are going to carry on with our bushwalk. You're welcome to join us. It's going to be lovely to be able to host you on a walk in the middle of the bush. Can you imagine? And we're going to see if we can show you some interesting things in the bush behind us now. Now, generally when you're walking through the bush, what you want to try and do is use the wind to your advantage. I have my Scott sock, as it's called. This is one of Scott's socks that are filled with some ash. And you'll see me periodically tapping it, testing wind direction. Wind is gusting a little bit around us at the moment. Not too much of a problem. We're going to be making our way up to that big marula that you see behind me. So, let's go. So hello Mim, how are you doing? The question that you sent is, what are these funny things on my ankle while I'm busy walking around? They are ankle protectors. They protect my socks that I have on underneath there from grass seeds that would otherwise be trying their best to saw my foot off as I was busy walking. It's just a preference that I have not to wear big clunky boots, and this keeps your foot a little bit less weighty and less hot out here in the bush in Africa. And these sock protectors, they allow me to keep my feet protected. They don't, however, do anything for the ticks that are infesting me at the moment, which is a common affliction of guides who operate in trails in the bush. So don't worry, I'm quite used to it. You'll notice that as walking through the bush, I'm not trying my best to avoid thick And I know there's a squirrel living in the hole because I see evidence of his larder underneath the tree. Now, by larder, I'm going to show you right here. I mean the remnants of all of these marula seeds that have been opened up by the squirrel. You can see there's his chisel marks from his teeth. He's opened up the nut, he's eaten the nut, and then he's discarded all these marulas out of his larder. He would have collected all of these seeds during the summer, and he's now storing them in his hole for winter. wanted to show you this tree. This tree's diagnostic, really straight branches, is where it gets one of its uses from. The Bushmen used to use these twigs as arrows. If they didn't have reeds that they could find, they used to bend these into arrows. They make incredibly good arrows, as you can see. Nice and straight. It's one of the grevias, or one of the wild raisins. It's the sandpaper raisin, for those of you who are dendrologically minded. The sandpaper raisin grows quite commonly all over this place and used widely in arrow making, basket making. Nice straight strong branches. Okay, we're going to sign back to Brent. I hear he's got a beautiful shot of a Batelier eagle in a tree, and I'm sure that you're going to enjoy that before it flies away. So we'll see you in a little bit. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Everyone, as you can see, we've stumbled upon an incredibly relaxed Batelier. I mean, we're parked almost underneath, and it's just chilling. Looks down at us every now and then, surveying. You can actually hear dwarf mongoose alarm calling because he's sitting there. They're spectacularly beautiful birds. So related to the snake eagle family, we can't really see from this angle, but there's no feathers all the way down the legs, and they'll have quite a thick scales on the legs. So very, very, very nice sighting. It's unusual. We often get to see them in flight, but to see one sitting this calmly, it's very, very lucky. I think he might fly shortly, so we're just going to go a little bit wider. You'll often find a lot of your predatory birds will like to sit in dead trees like this. It's quite often because of their size. So landing in a tree that's got lots of branches and thorns and leaves is a bit more difficult for them. So that's why they quite often you'll find your bigger predatory birds sitting in these dead trees. So there's another game drive vehicle approaching. So I thought he might fly with that, but he's so relaxed. So the nice thing about Batelier, a Batelier eagle that we're looking at here, quite interestingly, up until quite recently in East Africa, they were referred to as short-tailed eagles, and what they've done is they've sort of taken the original name, the first name it was ever called by, wherever that might have been, whether it's Southern or East Africa, and they reverted to that name. I'm quite happy that Batelier came before short-tailed eagle. So I think Batelier is a far nicer name and a great description, because they've got such short tails. When they fly, they always look like they're balancing on a tightrope. So that's where that name comes from. Oh. little feather fluff. And while doing that, we just came across this really, really relaxed bateleur. And Steph and Scott have been on the tracks of that leopard, so hopefully they are getting some success. And look at those talons. How spectacular birds. Amazing how the wind's catching the feathers there. So they're also one of the birds that's almost always first on a carcass. So if you see a bateleur dropping to ground, they've definitely spotted something. They've got fantastic eyesight and often will beat vultures to the carcasses. And vultures have been known to actually fly higher than the bateleur and then watch. As soon as the bateleur goes down, they'll follow the bateleur to the ground. I've even seen a bateleur sort of swoop down to go have a drink at a puddle, and then 2 minutes later 5 vultures sort of landed expecting to find a meal, and all they found was a bateleur having a bit of a bath and a drink in the mud puddle after the rain. But it has been a treat to sit with a bateleur this long. We're going to continue on. I don't think he looks too perturbed with anyone, so I don't think he's going to move. And it's starting to get to the right time of the day to try head back towards the lions. So we're going to start slowly moving back in that direction.